Intriguing, slightly somber music begins and fades into the background. Picture this, the Eastern Front, World War II. Amidst the chaos and brutality, a unique group of combatants emerged, the women of the Soviet Red Army. They weren't just nurses or clerks. Nearly 1 million Soviet women served in military roles, from pilots and snipers to tank commanders and partisans. They fought with incredible courage and dedication, but this bravery came at a terrible cost, especially for those who fell into enemy hands. What happened to these women when they were captured? Their story is a harrowing, often overlooked chapter of the war. When a Soviet female soldier was captured by German forces, her fate was often sealed by a brutal combination of ideology and battlefield cruelty. Unlike male prisoners of war, who were at least nominally protected by the Geneva Conventions, though these were frequently ignored on the Eastern Front, female soldiers were in a category of their own. Nazi ideology viewed them not as legitimate soldiers, but as unnatural beings, subhuman partisans who had abandoned their proper place. This ideological hatred stripped them of any legal or moral protection. German propaganda often depicted these women in the most dehumanizing terms, calling them Flintenweiber, a derogatory term meaning rifle women or gun-toting hags. This propaganda fueled the contempt and brutality they faced upon capture. Field reports and soldiers' letters from the time reveal a shocking reality. Many captured female soldiers, especially those in uniform like medics, signal operators, or regular infantry, were frequently executed on the spot. The logic was chillingly simple. They were considered partisans, not soldiers, and therefore not entitled to the rights of a prisoner of war. For those who weren't killed immediately, the journey into captivity was a descent into a nightmare. They were subjected to horrific treatment during interrogations, which often involved extreme violence and abuse aimed at breaking their spirit and extracting information. Eyewitness accounts from both sides paint a grim picture. Survivors later recounted enduring unspeakable acts meant to humiliate and terrorize them. Their gender, which should have afforded them some measure of protection, was instead used as a weapon against them. The path for a captured Soviet woman rarely led to a standard POW camp. Instead, many were sent to concentration camps, places like Ravensbrück, which was specifically designed for female prisoners. Here, they were no longer treated as soldiers, but as political prisoners, criminals, or slave laborers. They were forced to work in horrendous conditions, often in armaments factories, enduring starvation, disease, and the constant cruelty of their guards. Their military service was erased, replaced by a prisoner number and a life of systematic dehumanization. Medical personnel, like nurses and doctors, sometimes faced a slightly different, though equally grim, fate. Initially, some German field commanders recognized their value and would occasionally spare them to treat wounded German soldiers. However, this was the exception, not the rule. More often, they shared the same fate as their combatant sisters. Even their Red Cross armbands offered little to no protection. The ideological war waged by the Nazis superseded any established rules of combat. And a woman in a Soviet uniform, regardless of her role, was seen as an ideological enemy, first and foremost. It's also important to remember the partisans. Thousands of women fought behind enemy lines in partisan units, sabotaging supply lines and gathering intelligence. For them, capture was almost certainly a death sentence. The Germans waged a brutal anti-partisan war, and anyone captured, man, woman, or child, was typically executed after a summary interrogation, if they were interrogated at all. The bravery of these women operating in the forests and swamps was matched only by the extreme danger they faced every single day. One of the most tragic aspects of this story is how it was remembered, or rather, how it wasn't. After the war, the experiences of these female POWs were often buried. In the Soviet Union, being captured was viewed with suspicion, often seen as a sign of weakness or even treason. Many returning female prisoners who had already endured unimaginable horrors in German camps faced investigation and social ostracism back home. Their stories of survival and suffering didn't fit the official heroic narrative of the Great Patriotic War. They were expected to be silent symbols of sacrifice, not living reminders of the brutal realities of capture. This silence meant that for decades, the specific horrors faced by female soldiers remained largely untold. It has only been in more recent times, thanks to the work of historians like Svetlana Alexievich in her book The Unwomanly Face of War, that these personal testimonies have been brought to light. Through her interviews with female veterans, we hear their voices directly, voices that speak of courage, pain, and a resilience that is almost impossible to comprehend. They tell of holding on to their dignity in the face of absolute degradation, of forming bonds of sisterhood in the camps, and of the psychological scars that never truly healed. The story of the captured Soviet female soldier is a powerful and deeply unsettling one. It forces us to look beyond the grand strategies and battle maps of World War II and see the deeply personal human cost of conflict. It reminds us that war is not an abstract concept. It is something that happens to individual people, and its impact is often shaped by who they are, their nationality, their ideology, and, in this case, their gender. These women were soldiers, patriots, and victims, and their incredible bravery in the face of unimaginable cruelty deserves to be remembered, honored, and never forgotten. Their legacy is a stark reminder of the unique burdens women carry in times of war and a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this important and often overlooked piece of history. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the past. Your support helps us continue to share these vital stories. We'll see you next time.